Hey, this is Trevor Sternad from the Black Dahlia Murder here, and you're listening to the EVERBLACK Podcast.
Hey, human skull, this is odorous from Guam.
Going to the Fear Factory.
This is George Corshorn Fisher.
This is Jessy Double Drop.
This is Wade from Our Last Enemy.
Mike Nick from Suicidal Tendencies.
Hey, this is Wednesday 13.
This is
Rex from Kill Devil Hill.
This is
Gary's from Sepultura. You're listening to EVERBLACK Podcast.
All right, before we go into this episode, we just need to give a shout out to our show supporters, the brutal occult clothing brand Electric Witch, who have amazing apparel from shirts to hoodies to hats to beanies and more. Check out their full range at electricwitch.com.au and put in the code EVERBLACK for 20% off your order. Don't forget to subscribe, rate and review the EVERBLACK podcast through Spotify, iTunes, YouTube and Facebook, and check out all our articles at everblackmedia.com. All right, on with the show. Well, Jessy, thanks for joining us on the show, man. How's everything going over there in your part of the world?
Cold, and we're reaching day 100 of lockdown. We're sadly still in level 3, which isn't great, but things are slowly opening up. It's been I think this took everybody by surprise, and it's been quite an experience.
Yeah, it's definitely been that way here too, man. Winter over there, is it?
Yeah.
That's weird. I thought it'd be summer over there because I don't know. I don't get out much, so unless it's a gig. But of course, the new Deadline album, Cathedral Point, was released last Friday, June 26th. Album number 2 for you guys. I dig it, man. It's really, really cool. How is it going into this one to record and write this time?
So look, when we first started out as Deadline, we weren't sure what genre we were going to actually play. You know, we were kind of stuck between hard rock, biker rock, a bit of glam, a bit of metal. We didn't really have a heavy metal drummer. Our bassist wasn't really a metal bassist. So first album kind of it flirts with genres, but more like hard rock, glam rock genres, a bit of metal. When we started the writing process for this one, there was a few songs off the first album that were more sounded more like your old school heavy metal, like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, that kind of thing. And that was the genre that we chose to sort of follow. And so when we wrote this specific album, we obviously pushed ourselves to go into that direction. And it just happened naturally. I mean, I think guys with playing together for so many years, it was easier. Recording was great. We did it all last year, towards the end of the year, beginning of this year. So we managed to get everything done before lockdown. And it was just a matter of our engineer doing the mixing and the mastering.
Was that a bit of a challenge? Did you have it sort of just in time? Did you just get it in the nick of time?
Yeah, look, everything was done just in the nick of time. The challenge just was really dealing with everyone back and forward, whereas before I'd go to band practice, we'd have a meeting, we could meet up for a drink. Now we were doing everything via Zoom or Google Hangouts I'm always the middleman between the rest of the band and the producer. So it got a bit frustrating, but we got it done.
Man, yeah, it sounds crisp too. Crisp, that's a word I'm looking
Thank
for.
you.
It's tidy, man. It sounds really.
The production's good.
Yeah, it's amazing. Where and when and how? It's a master.
So what we always do. So we're up in Pretoria. We record in Johannesburg at a guy called Michael Wright. He used to be the drummer of a quite a big alternative indie South African band called Zebra and Giraffe. Completely different to our genre, but he's got a great ear and he's a great guy. We record there, and then we send the tracks to a place called Burning Tone Studios in Cape Town. And the engineer there, he's a massive metalhead. He's got a great ear. So he always does our mixing, our mastering, and all our stuff. And I must say, I prefer the mix on this album more to the previous album, and I think it's more in line with what we wanted. This album is a much faster, much heavier, but also a much more melodic album, and it's just worked out perfectly.
Absolutely. And man, I describe the album like it's metal anthems that make you want to throw your fist in the air, throw back a few cold ones, and drive fast. But not all those things all together, of course, because you're a responsible metalhead, of course. You know what I mean? But was that the goal when you went into this one? You're like, we gotta make it action packed.
Yeah. So look, the scene in South Africa is very kind of the bands that are coming out of the country at the moment are all either deathcore, metalcore, or death metal. So we're actually the only old school heavy metal band in the country, which is crazy considering we've got 55 million people. So we wanted to write something that was fast and heavy, but that was going to come with like tons of earworms. So the guys that write our riffs, the guitarists, they're massive Priest and Maiden fans. And I'm actually a big thrash metal head. I used to sing in a thrash metal band, and I was in a Metallica tribute band, etc., etc. So what we bring is they write the music, which is always headed kind of in that new wave of British heavy metal kind of theme, power metal kind of thing. And then I do the vocal melodies and the arrangements, and I sort of add the thrash elements. So the whole idea is to kind of write a best of, if Metallica and Maiden had to mate and have a bastard child, we want to do, we want to be that, the best of that bastard child. So that was the aim. And like I said, there's so many bands that are, and I'm no disrespect to any of them. There's a lot of great bands, but you go out to shows and a lot of the stuff starts sounding the same. So the whole thing was to sound different. So we can go there. Everybody knows, like, this is Deadline. This is what you're going to get. You're going to leave this show fists pumping, singing these songs, until the morning. And that was, we want everyone to have a big party when they're listening to us, and I think we succeeded with this album.
I think so too, man. It's awesome. Well done to you and the boys, man. And of course, I mean, you mentioned Judas Priest before. Were you guys meant to support them last year?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
They were due to play in March, and we got chosen to be one of the official opening acts. And then, unfortunately, being South Africa, not enough tickets were sold. So 2 or 3 weeks before the show, they canned it.
It's a bummer, man. That would have been awesome.
No, it would have been incredible, man. That would have been sort of the crowning moment of our sort of, let's call it, musical career up to now. Yeah.
Never say never, though, dude. Never know.
No. Look, we're more determined than ever to make it onto a big stage.
Absolutely.
Even though we're already getting much older, but we still put on a hell of a show. So I like to believe.
Talking about shows, didn't you? You did a streaming show on the weekend, Streaming for Vengeance. How was that?
Yeah. Pretty good. Look, pretty good. We were the first unsigned metal band in the country to do that. We had a few technical difficulties, as of course is always the case, but it went well. Obviously, we played. It's a garage that was converted into a studio. We played in there. It was pretty small, we're a 6-piece, so and I move around a lot, but it worked out pretty well. Yeah, I think the feedback has been amazing, and we had people that bought tickets from Brazil, Canada, United States, UK, Ireland, Hungary, Dubai. So yeah, I mean, I think for what it was supposed to be, it turned out all right.
Have you got plans to release it in some way?
Well, the link is already available on YouTube.
Okay.
You can watch it on YouTube. Yeah. So the people that hosted us, it's a recording studio called, how do I even say this in English? So it's like an Afrikaans word. It's Die Ware Jakob.
Okay.
And they did it in connection with a weekly rock magazine called The Weekly Wire. So they've put it on their page, and we're also going to put it on our page soon on YouTube. And then everyone's got access to it.
Oh, I'll have to check it out, man. That's man, I was hanging to watch it, so I didn't know if it was up yet or I missed the boat because it with tickets and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm first thing I'm going to do, mate.
I'll send you the link.
Do so, because I'm after work, cold one. I've got something.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
It's dream work.
What do you got there? Just
water.
Oh, mate. Oh, well, if you were here, I'd get you one of these. So, but
staying hydrated.
And of course, have you toured outside of South Africa before?
So, only to one country, and it's our neighbors, Botswana. And it's a crazy thing. So Botswana's got one of the fastest growing metal scenes in Africa, and it's crazy. It's in all these like very small, secluded towns, and very third worldish. But we went and we played 2 shows there, and we were greeted with such enthusiasm. It was crazy. It's like all these African metalheads that you wouldn't expect wearing leathers and spikes, and it was an amazing, humbling experience. I mean, it's something that we never thought we'd ever see. Before lockdown, we were actually speaking to a record label / distributor in Brazil to perhaps go play some shows there. So with the release of the album, they're very keen to actually still do one or two things there. So I think Argentina and Brazil might be on the radar, once this is all over. And obviously we're still looking to play a few gigs in Europe. Obviously it's got to be, it's just about doing a bit of marketing and promo and just getting picked up or heard by the right people, I suppose. It's very hard when you're sort of, on the arse end of Africa. But there's that opportunity. So we're definitely looking into it.
I think that'd be awesome. You guys would be amazing in Europe and, South America,
Yeah.
all the riffs. That'd be incredible.
Yeah, the old school metal's quite big there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, how far do you tour when it comes to, because, I mean, I've never been there,
Yeah.
So, I'm not in the arse, I'm in the arse end of the world. To the right a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how is it in regards to touring there? Is it difficult or is it pretty sort of bang, bang, bang? You said the same.
So we're sort of like, we're in Pretoria, which is in the province of Gauteng. We've also got Pretoria and Johannesburg. So there's a fair amount of venues here. So we wouldn't call it touring rather than playing. Like we play a lot of gigs, different gigs for different reasons, etc. When you do go on a bit of a touring cycle, there's not a lot of places you can go to because we've got a few main towns and then everything else is, for lack of a better word, very African. And, you wouldn't be able to play heavy metal in places like that. So we try when we do an album launch or when we're promoting something, we try to do Pretoria, Johannesburg, Cape Town, Bloemfontein, Durban. Those are like the 5 main centers. But we've played most of the big towns in South Africa, but I wouldn't call it a tour. Like I would say, we organize a gig in Port Elizabeth, and then we get there, we play the show, and then we come back to Pretoria. It's not a tour per se. Because, I mean, really the heavy metal scene in the country is very small. So it's really kind of like a hit and miss. You get some shows that you think are going to be empty, and you get an amazing turnout, and then you get other times where you think, wow, we're going to kick some ass today, and then like it's crickets.
I think we've all, even down here, man, we've had those ones. I think it's and
also,
it happens.
Yeah. I also think it's a bit hard for us because look, like I said, we're the only old school metal band in the country. There's no power metal bands, there's 2 or 3 thrash bands, and there's a glam rock band. So it's quite tough. I mean, we're playing a scene where it's drowning with core and deathcore, and a lot of the core and deathcore kids don't like this type of music. And a lot of the people that do like this type of music are all married and have kids and don't go out. So, so it does present a little bit of an obstacle, but and I think that's why we focus so much on our live show. Our live show is super energetic, it's super explosive, and we actually have a lot of fans that just dig us just because of our show. They love watching the show because they know there's always going to be a bit of action, a bit of blood, a bit of madness, So yeah, I mean, I think that's actually how we've actually developed our name here in South Africa.
That's awesome. And in regards to the album and the title Cathedral Point, what's the meaning behind that?
So everything we do, except for the songs we write, which is so weird, is thematic. So we follow a theme. We've got a little mascot. Her name is Lady Blitzkrieg. The whole premise behind the band is she has returned to a fictitious city called San Lombardo to kill the band. So all our concepts with our merch, with everything, revolves around her and her 2 wolves that have gone missing. So the first album is called Black Wolf City. And on the cover, you'll see she's holding a machete. She's standing on top of a building, eyeing out a nightclub. That's where we're busy playing. So it signals her arrival to the city. She's looking for a wolf. She wants to get revenge. The second album, if you look at the original artwork for the first album, you will see that there's a. Hold on, I'll show you now.
Oh, awesome! I have one of these.
So if you can see this, that's the first album cover, right?
Oh,
and then if you continue on the back over here, you'll see that there's a cathedral there.
Oh yeah.
So that is called Cathedral Point. That is where this city was built from. So what we've done for the second album, so basically the whole idea is Cathedral Point is an old abandoned cathedral that Deadline takes over and runs their operations from. So kind of like our Batcave.
I like that.
And she figures out that we're hiding there. And album number 2, again, you see her in the front of the gate, and she's coming now to sort of have that one-on-one with us. So, and that's, all the stuff that we do, like all our stage names, everything comes from this idea, which is actually a graphic novel, which I started working on years ago, but which may just become a novel, really, to be fair. So we've just borrowed everything from there, and we've just kind of, we just keep developing it.
So in regards to album number 3, where does that sort of sit in the graphic novel or the novel?
So album number 3, it's already got a name, and it's a continuation of a story. Lady Blitzkrieg realizes she can't take on all 6 members of Deadline on her own, and she seeks help from a very corrupt individual called Judge Mental, who is the acting mayor of the town, but he's also the president of a very big weapons corporation. So the album cover will be this building with her standing outside with him, looking over her, and we'll continue the story. The whole aim was for us to hopefully release 4 albums in this whole story. We'll have to see how it goes.
I like that. That's really cool. I mean, obviously, you mentioned before, Motu and Thundercats and stuff like that. So you're, you know what I mean? Obviously, I don't know how you're maybe the same age as I am, but do you draw a lot from that sort of stuff? Influence?
So this specific story was inspired by something like a mashup of maybe Sin City and The Crow, the comic book The Crow, the movie The Crow, a little bit of Batman. So I've drawn a lot of inspiration from that. Like this cover, you'll see is very sort of film noir.
Yes.
It doesn't look very metal at all.
No, I like that. Oh, that's cool.
So even the intro, like the intro we use in the movie, in the CD, sounds like an intro to a movie. So with this one, we wanted to do something a little bit different, something a little bit more horror, pop mixed with synthwave, and the intro also kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Accentuates that. I draw inspiration from that, and it's kind of a real life. I based a lot of the stuff on real life characters that I've modeled the town after Pretoria. The nightclub is modeled after a very famous rock and metal nightclub that we had here years ago called Zeppelins. And the characters are kind of, so I've drawn from real life people, inspiration from real life people, and those are our stage names. So for example, my stage name is Jessy Switchblade. He's a character in the graphic novel. Raven Chaos is a character in the novel. And we've just run with it now, man. It's like I said, the songs have nothing to do with the story. All our songs, like we write about individual things, but which is different to like when you do a concept album or whatever. But we are like a concept band.
I love it. I'm all about it.
A little different, and people buy into it.
Hey, I'd be throwing you money for that graphic novel. So that's awesome, man. What about in regards to your own influences as a vocalist? I mean, I hear a few different influences. Call me out if I'm wrong, but I hear a bit of Dickinson, I hear a bit of Belladonna in there, a bit of Halford. Are they your guys? Yeah.
No. Look, I'm 41 years old. So when I first joined bands back in the 90s, I was in mostly grunge bands. Grunge obviously took over, and my influences at the time were Eddie Vedder, Chris Cornell. Chris Cornell's a massive influence. But first and foremost, I'm a thrash metal man. Thrash is my daily bread, and my favorite bands are Testament, Anthrax, Metallica, Megadeth, Death Angel. So I had to kind of change my singing style when I came to Deadline. So initially, I looked up to obviously Halford, Dio, and Dickinson. I mean, if you're going to be in a heavy metal band, those are the 3 guys that you got to. So I've had to model my vocals a lot around those guys. But in this album, especially the thrashier tracks like Watchers, Dark Divination, you can definitely hear the Joe Belladonna, a little bit of James Hetfield. I mean, I was in a Metallica tribute band. A little bit of Marcus Aguero from Death Angel. But it's right about there. Like, I was forced to kind of try alter my style to sound more like a heavy metal vocalist and not a thrash metal vocalist. But I'm glad you're hearing Dickinson. That makes me happy.
Yeah, I love it. I love all that stuff, man. So when I hear it in another vocalist, I'm like, it's good stuff.
Nice. I
yeah,
appreciate
man.
that. Thank you very much.
It's funny tonight when I went to get some beers on the way home, man, like it was so random. This came to mind. There was a guy there working, and he turned around and he had a big Judas Priest tattoo. No one has
Nice.
Judas Priest tattoos. So I was like, Priest, and he's like, gave me the nod.
Yeah.
It was very random, but man, of course, how was that? I don't know. No, I went off track, didn't I? Okay, let me reel it back in a bit. So when you did have that transition vocally, I mean, how did you do that? How did you make that transition?
You know, look, I've never taken a singing lesson in my life. I mean, obviously, I studied law and I've been busy in the corporate world for many, many years, and this has just been a hobby. So, you know, you just basically just hours of listening to Maiden. I mean, Iron Maiden is my favorite band, regardless. Even though I'm a thrasher, Maiden is the beginning and the end of everything. So it's just hours of listening to Bruce, you know, and hours of watching him. And I've been fortunate enough to have watched Maiden 9 times. I've traveled around the world to watch them. So when I write a vocal melody, or when I write a specific lyric, I try to sort of put myself in his shoes and or him or Ronnie James Dio, and I'm like, what would Bruce do in this instance? Because I can tell you what James Hetfield would do, you know, and he'd be like da 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 da, you know, like it's. Whereas, you know, thrash metal, you can write anything and it's always staccato and it often follows the riff really. Whereas with metal, you've got to kind of, it's got to ebb and flow, you know.
That's right.
So I just tried to see, you know, what would you do? And, you know, often I'll start a vocal melody and it'll start kind of in the James Hetfield world, and then I'll just keep hammering it. And then even when I sing it, I try, you know, the band room, it's only after like the 10th or 20th time we've done the new song where I kind of start feeling, okay, it needs to go here, because I've got a very specific way of sort of letting it go there. So it's a lot of sort of homework behind the scenes and just, yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll get completely stuck and I'll just go back and I'll listen to Seventh Son of a Seventh Son and I'm like, all right, there we go. This is where you've got to go. Take it there.
The food groups, which I call
exactly. And I think
basic.
That's what makes us stand out a little bit. Well, I like to think this, like when you hear Deadline, you know it's Deadline, because we're not old school heavy metal. We're not thrash, but we've definitely got a lot of thrash influences in it.
Absolutely.
We're not power, but we got power. You know, you get bands that are like, you know, you get this new wave of traditional heavy metal, like Enforcer, White Wizard. You can hear it. You know, it's just one genre. Whereas with us, we're trying to play Deadline and be Deadline, and we're saying thank you for the music. You know, I'll take a bit from thrash, I'll take a bit from power, take a bit from hard rock. You know, so that we can drop this. Because we didn't want to be put in a genre. We ended up classifying ourselves as the new wave of South African heavy metal. We're the only wave.
Yeah.
We're the only ones.
But you never know where that goes, man. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
The next generation. I'm finding a lot of younger kids these days, man, are wearing shirts from bands that, you know, beyond even back 80s bands. You're like, well, it's, you know, it goes in those cycles. So
no, of course.
Yeah.
Look, it's a bit, like I said, it's a bit hard. Yeah, I mean, heavy metal in South Africa is, you know, it's really it doesn't have a big following. So but when I go to Europe every year. I'm Portuguese, so all my family's in the UK and in Portugal, and I go to metal festivals every year, Wacken, Kraspop, Hellfest, and I mean, you see so many young kids there, man, that are wearing King Diamond shirts and Accept and Annihilator, and I mean, the old school metal there, whether it's thrash or speed or whatever it is so big. You know, and here I come and I chat to some of these guys that are playing in bands where they rolled up jeans, you know, all these cool guys that have rolled up jeans and like little hoods. And I mentioned Testament and they look at me funny. And I'm like, what's Testament? I'm like, man, a lot of work to do.
You're going to learn.
It is what it is, you know. Metal's dynamic, and this is the phase right now is obviously that type of music. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You know, if metal were to stagnate, that would be a problem, you know?
Sorry.
I mean, look at Parkway Drive.
Oh, well, man, it'd be great to see you guys down here. That's for sure.
Oh, no, we would love to. Like I said, I mean, we'd obviously have to go, you know, we're unsigned and everything. We'd have to go wherever there's a bit of a market, because there's no use going to tour a country and then having nobody pitch up to the pub. You know, so, but I would love to. I mean, like, I think we've got really, with this specific album, I think we've got very strong songs,
yes,
which I think we can put in any arena and I think could do well. So it's just a matter of now just marketing and pushing and just, yeah, I mean, it's great, like to be, being on your show, being in Australia. I've been in some shows in Finland and in Brazil, and it's the only way is to just keep pushing, and getting the message out there.
Spreading the metal, man. That's what it's about.
That's it. That's exactly what it's about.
Mate, that's it. Well, mate, thanks again for hanging on the show. Deadline Cathedral Point is out now everywhere. Go get it. And, mate, I'll have all the links here, as I usually say. Dude, thanks again for hanging on the show, and hopefully we'll see you in person one day somehow for one of these cold ones.
That would be perfect. All I can do right now is
What's that? What do you got there?
This is the South African beer. It's called Devil's Peak from Cape Town.
There you go. I might have to. That's why this is okay. I'm going to let you in on a secret. This beer is not Australian. It's New Zealand.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I don't mind it. Hey, man, but this is cheap, and I like them a lot. It's called Wakachangi. You can see the
nice. So there's no unwritten rules, eh?
Yeah. Got a dude
That looks cool.
fighting a devil hamster with a spatula.
That's fantastic.
Best thing in the world.
That's cool, man. I really appreciate being on your show. Thanks for taking the time to having chatted to me.
Oh, mate, anytime. I'll tag you and everything when it's up, man. And, dude, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, brother.
Thank you. You too, man. Take it easy.
Take care, bro.
Cheers.
Bye.